it's Brat, and welcome back to another Mom Chat Mondays. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about spoiling your kids. How the hell are we supposed to make sure our kids aren't spoiled? The answer is, I have no clue. Thank you for coming to this episode. See y'all next week. No, but seriously, let's talk about it, because if you guys have some ways, let's share ideas to make sure we don't raise a bunch of spoiled little brats. I think it's going to be really hard for us in this day and age to make sure that our kids aren't spoiled. And I say this day and age because a lot of us are waiting to have kids until we're financially stable, whereas our parents kind of threw caution to the wind and kind of just went for it. And we all grew up together financially with our parents. Like, we were in the struggle with them, not really realizing it was struggle. Whereas now I feel like we're doing the struggling before we have kids, and then we're hoping that by the time the kids enter the world, we're already on the up and up. We're already up there. That's why a lot of us are having kids at like 35, 40, way later than when our parents were having kids. I know for my situation specifically, I was born in Congo, and when my family lived there, we were pretty well off, but when we moved to America, we were poor. We were living paycheck to paycheck. My dad was working 2 jobs at the time. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she could take care of us because 1, she didn't speak English, and 2, childcare, as many of you will find out, is super expensive. So like, it's kind of more cost-effective to just have someone stay at home rather than to pay for childcare and then go work a minimum wage job, because at the time, all of her degrees didn't transfer over to American standards. So we grew up really poor. But those memories are some of my fondest memories growing up. I remember me and my siblings had this table that we would play with outside, and it literally had 3 legs. Like, it was like a tripod table because the 4th leg was missing. We don't know where that 4th leg went or if it ever existed. So I think that toy was a secondhand toy. But we would just play with it downstairs, play house, set the table, random kids games that you come up with. And it was so fun. Then when we started getting into bubbles, we couldn't always afford to buy like bubble sets. So my mom would take dish soap in like a large bin and like whisk some water around and like give us used wands from the wands that we had like the previous bubble set that we got. So we would like attempt to blow bubbles with like Dawn dish soap. And it didn't quite work, but at the time it was just like so fun, like so innovative. So, like, you didn't even notice that it wasn't like the real name brand whatever bubble set. So we didn't know if we were struggling or that we were poor at that time, but we knew that like money wasn't something that was easy to come by. So when we did get money or when we did get gifts, we were so appreciative of it because we knew like the value and the worth behind it, right? It wasn't until I was about 7 or 8 that we came into some money. I remember we moved into a new house, and then we started exploring boarding schools. Me and my siblings eventually ended up going to boarding school where I met my now husband. And in boarding school, you see opulence, like next level. So that's when it started to click, like, oh, we were poor. And now we're not. But even in boarding school, we were the poorer of the rich folk, if you know what I mean. But there, I really got to meet a lot of great people. A lot of them are still my friends to this day. But I also met a lot of spoiled brats. I remember one occasion, we had a basketball tournament in Montreal, and one of my classmates lived in Montreal, so in between some of the games, or I don't even know, I think actually we stayed overnight. Her parents like graciously allowed some of the girls on the team to stay over their house during this tournament. And I remember we got to her house and her parents had surprised her with a new ski set, like snowboard ski set. So like the gear, skis, poles, all that jazz, and had laid it out so nicely. And like all of us other girls were like, wow, that's so nice. Like, you're so lucky. She didn't even smile. She was just like, you know I hate this color. Why would you get that? I was in shock. My African soul was in shock. First of all, to speak to your parents like that, I could never. I would get slapped into next week. Second of all, I didn't even know people skied or snowboarded casually until I got to boarding school. Like, it is not a poor people's sport. You have to have money to be doing this. That's 1. 2, Have you looked up like snowboarding gear? It might be better now, but at that time, this was what, 2003? Maybe 2004. So you couldn't get like snow pants, snow jacket from like Shein or like Fashion Nova. Like you had to get it from like quality stores. So like this was at least $1,000 worth of like gifts she was getting. And she was like, not even a smirk, not even a thank you. I was like, if she doesn't want it, I'll take it, to be honest. Like, hello. That was like my first brush with spoiled brats, with like just ungratefulness. That comes from growing up in an environment where everything is handed to you, where you just have a lot of disposable income. And I didn't grow up that way. But I know my son Declan is gonna grow up that way because both his dad and I have good jobs and we're able to provide things for him, that anything that he could ask for, really. So it really comes down to us to make sure that we're navigating this space the right way, that we're instilling a heart of gratefulness and graciousness in him. But what a lot of kids who grow up with money have is opportunity, right? Their parents have the money to invest in them. If their kids want to learn piano, you get piano lessons. But I also feel like there's value in the struggle, right? The perfect example would be soccer players. A lot of the people who are like elite level soccer players come from countries or backgrounds that are less well off. You just have a ball, you might not have cleats, you just like go out with your friends, you play in the dirt, you play on the street, you hone your skills there, right? Here, it's like, okay, you have the ball, then you gotta go buy the cleats, then you gotta go buy the freaking shin pads and all that gloves, all that jazz. And that's why the US team isn't like always as good, is because you're taking it to a level where it kind of eliminates certain groups of people who can't necessarily afford those things. And because you're not honing your raw skills, you don't really develop as much as those kids who are just like out in the park, whatever, with their friends, doing it for the love of it, right? So I just want to find a balance to make sure that our kids have everything that they need to get themselves to the next level, but they also have a way to get that sense of accomplishment, to like hone their skills on their own. So just recently, Declan, his grandparents got him a little mini basketball, and he was taking the basketball and he was like putting it in his crib. Like he would walk over to his crib and like dunk it over his crib. So I was like, oh, okay, let me get him a basketball net. Because if that's what he wants to do, like let me help him do that with the basketball net. So I went out and bought him a basketball net. I brought it home and he's been playing all night. It's great, right? But my thinking is that, what if I took away an opportunity for him to figure out something else that maybe he wouldn't have figured out, or to like develop a way to entertain himself? What if I took away that opportunity by making it easy for him and getting him this whole basketball rim board, whatever thing? So even after we got into money and we weren't dirt poor anymore, my parents still were very like frugal. And I think that's where I get my frugalness from. Many people call me frugal Friedet because I penny pinch and I don't like to spend money frivolously. So for my 10th birthday, I really wanted a Razor scooter, like one of those push scooters that was really popular at the time. Not like a motorized anything, it was just like a push scooter, and I think it was like $125, whatever. And I asked my parents to get that for my birthday, and they pretty much said kick rocks. So I remember I saved all my money, all the money I got from my 10th birthday, all until I turned 11. I collected it and I saved it, and on my 11th birthday, I went and bought that scooter a year later. But I felt so accomplished, like I took such good care of it. I cleaned it, I rode it everywhere. I even rode it to school, which my middle school from my house, it was like at least 3 miles. I don't know what I was doing in the morning, freaking 11 years old, scootering to school. Like I got to school drenched in sweat. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was so proud of that scooter, and I was even more proud that I got it for myself. I felt so accomplished. I felt that same sense of accomplishment when I bought my first car. I bought my first car when I was 25. When I first moved to LA, I had saved up. I had like a 5-year payment plan, and I felt so proud that I did it by myself. I didn't have my own down payment, made my own monthly payments. I felt so proud because a lot of my friends from boarding school, like their parents either gave them cars or whatever the case may be. And there's nothing wrong with that because, like I said, that may be the case for our children as well. Who knows? But that feeling, that pride that I felt, I would never want to take that away from my son. But would I want to watch him struggle to like get funds to get something that he really wants when I know I can just get it for him? No. So that's where the struggle comes in. It's like, where's the balance? Waiting to have kids when you're financially stable and you feel like you can give them a better life than what you had or provide for them is great. There's no denying that kids with money have a leg up in this world. So I don't want to take that leg up from my kids. But on the flip side, will it backfire because they're coming into a life of no struggle? I feel like going through the struggle with your parents, I don't know, it makes you more appreciative of things and puts a lot of things in perspective. It also creates memories. Like, we didn't know we were struggling. We didn't know we were poor. We were just kids having a great time with the little that we had. I remember we used to make dirt pizzas out in the park with worms and like leaves and a bunch of stuff. We used to play with dirt. And that was okay. I feel like we need to go back to the basics. I don't think there's anything wrong with giving your kids a leg up financially with a lot of things, but we also can't take away the things that come with struggle, like the sense of accomplishment they feel when they achieve something on their own, when they work hard to save their money and purchase something on their own. Like, we can't take that away from them. And I don't know what the answer is to how to find that balance. The last thing I want to do is raise a bunch of spoiled brats and add that to the plethora of spoiled brats we already have in existence in this world. I want to raise gracious, kind humans. But if you know the answer to this, help a sister out. Let's be in this together, okay? Thanks you so much for watching, and I will see you next week on another Mom Chat Mondays.